Hello and welcome to Bright Onion Music Discussion. This is our first album review. And why don't you introduce which album we're going to be talking about?
Today we're going to be talking about In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. This band, it's a pretty big band, and it's always changing. Each of their albums has a completely different band, pretty much. There are only like a few people that stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this band can be compared to bands like Pink Floyd and
Rush.
yeah, and other prog rock bands. This is kind of the starter of prog rock.
It's one of those founding albums.
Yeah.
With the genre.
And I think this is the first album.
Yeah, it's their first album.
Yeah.
Released in 1969.
Yeah. And so let's get right into it. So the album feel. What would you say is the album feel? I'd say very medieval and very...
It has a medieval kind of flavor
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
But either medieval or like modern day or like 1990s.
It's very like cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I'd say this is kind of like... This album is kind of like walking along a very red like brick... Like a brick road. And you're walking in the street and then there are cars zooming by. No one really cares about you. You're just kind of walking and then you see a bunch of stores around. And you suddenly are walking in a medieval place. It's kind of like that.
To me, it has a kind of like a castle kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Like you're in some
especially
kind of
the
medieval
last song.
castle.
The
Yeah,
last
yeah,
song, yeah.
Or
Yeah,
I
at the
find
top.
also with the second track, and even Moonchild. Moonchild kind of has that medieval, I don't know, like the fantasy kind of aspect to it. You know what I mean? Mostly in the lyrics, but also just the presentation of the sound is very like, I don't know. It really has imagery like the setting sun or the night.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so what would you say is the album structure of this album?
Album structure. Well, they really structured this album extremely well. I mean, it has 5 tracks. They're all pretty long, and they each really work together to make a cohesive album. Like it's extremely well. And the first track is like really upbeat, pretty intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of transition into like a softer track, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the third one brings back the energy. The fourth one's softer, and then the fifth one is really energetic. So it's kind of like 1, 3, 5 are like the kind of like more intense rocker tracks,
Mhm.
and 2 and 4 are like the more
Yeah.
quieter tracks.
What would you say is the most emotional time in the album?
Oh man, could be Epitaph. During that like huge swell of that Mellotron or whatever.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same, except for just the whole.
Epitaph is track 3.
Yeah, I'd say the whole second song and third song.
Yeah, second song is really nice. I wouldn't say it's like really all that like doesn't have like a huge emotional pull to it, but it's just a very calm and kind of
Yeah.
just a very nice track to listen to,
For the
especially
longest-
coming off the first track.
Yeah, for the longest time, that was my favorite song on the album, and actually by the band. But then I heard their next album, which is In the Wake of Poseidon, and the song Cadence and Cascade. I think it's the third song. That song is a lot like what is it? We Talk to the Wind. I talked.
I talked.
Yeah, I talked to the wind. That song is a lot like that.
It is actually.
And because of that, I actually like Cadence and Cascade more because it has more energy, more layered, and it has the same calming feel. So
I really like the kind of flute stuff that goes on in I Talk to the Wind,
Mhm.
especially near the end when you think the song's over and then it kind of comes back in with the flutes.
yeah,
Really nice.
very nice.
Also, we might as well talk about this track that's playing right now, which is the first track, 21st Century Schizoid Man.
This is very jazz. This is a very jazz influenced
That's right.
song and album too.
It's totally like it really sums up prog rock in
Mhm.
many ways. It's a long track. It's rock, but it's like not really structured with a verse chorus at all. It's like has like these long sprawling solos and like interesting sections and like kind of jazzy, almost like improvisational bits. It has like a cool instrumentation, like with like the saxophones, whatever, right? And also it has extremely like fast and technical kind of like playing basically. Like the drums are always super on point, really quick. Like you can tell with especially with this part, right?
Yeah.
Like the band really works well together. That's something you see in a lot of prog rock bands is that they really take instrumental proficiency and the technical aspects like pretty seriously, and they're really usually pretty good. And
Yeah.
King Crimson with this album, especially with this song, is like one of the best in that
Yeah.
sense. So what's next? What do you want to talk about next?
So about the lyrics.
Lyrics.
Yeah, lyrics and theme.
So I'm very sure I read somewhere that the first song here, 21st Century Schizoid Man, is about like the Vietnam War. I'm not sure how true that is, but it does have to seem with kind of some kind of like, you know, PTSD or someone who's back from the war. And,
Yeah.
You know, so it makes
And,
sense. The song's like really, really anxious and, you know, pretty intense.
Yeah.
And also like the album cover too.
Yeah, and the second song, I really think it's about someone that's kind of in their own head, and they're kind of like, yeah, they're kind of in their own world, and they do things that don't actually do anything for them because it just helps them and makes them feel better.
Yeah,
that's just how
that's
how it speaks
that's
to me.
probably what it's about.
And epitaph. Oh, the definition of epitaph is the words that are written on a gravestone.
Oh,
And so that has something to do with death.
yeah, that song does seem kind of like a funeral kind of song. I mean,
Yeah.
with the really dead sounding mellotron. It's very eerie, kind of ghostly. And
Yeah.
then also with how kind of the guitar kind of like slashes across or whatever, it's like very like final and kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, pretty intense.
Yeah. And I don't really know. It's more just for Moonchild. It's more just a mood building lyric.
Yeah, I mean
At the
that's totally
beginning.
what to me really builds the entire mood of the album.
Yeah.
Is the lyrics in Moonchild there.
Yeah.
You know, what was it about?
Just a
Playing
moonsh-
hide and
yeah,
seek
yeah,
with the
playing-
ghosts
yeah.
of dawn and like something about a sundial or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it's really.
And the dead of night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the lyrics to that really pertain to, but it does evoke a lot of those moods that the album overall has. So
Yeah. Oh, and for the last song, that's pretty obvious. It's more just that has to do with the whole album. How like someone's walking in to the court of the Crimson King, and it's like really intense.
yeah.
That's-
I'm not really sure if that's really like.
That's probably a metaphor for something.
It's probably some kind of metaphorical or allegorical lyrics there, but like it's not really I don't think the same as like 21st Century Schizoid Man, where it's like about a certain topic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in general with prog rock, a lot of bands have like these like massive like like allegorical kind of things, or
Mhm.
maybe like fantasy themes or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what Court of the Crimson King
Really?
title track is.
really, really.
Yeah,
I
it kind of
like that.
has that like medieval like. I always think of like in the Hall of the Mountain King too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of has like that kind of like very like cinematic
And
kind
very
of feel to it.
huge.
Yeah, like it's just a massive, ominous, like apocalyptic kind of track or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like people coming in.
I wouldn't say apocalyptic. It's still pretty light.
the chorus is pretty.
It's
pretty
intense,
massive.
but it's not apocalyptic. Apocalyptic more means really dark and really full of despair.
Not really though. That could be post-apocalyptic.
Oh.
Apocalyptic would just deal with like some massive catastrophic event or
Yeah.
something really major.
That makes sense.
And I mean, of course, I don't think that's really what the song's about. But that's what the song feels like, with ushering in. It's the court of the Crimson King.
Yeah.
The massive chorus and.
And I really like how a lot of the songs, they seem like they're done, but then they just keep going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They really know how to kind of. Well, they don't draw out a track in a boring way. They
No.
draw out a track in a way that it's like you kind of just want more of it anyway, and
Yeah.
they kind of give you a little less.
It's kind of like you're in a concert, and there's
an encore.
Yeah, the encore.
Yeah, that's right. Especially you can see that with the last track.
Yeah.
The last track really has a coda kind of
Yeah.
to it, right? Starting with like the little piccolo, and then going into like
And the percussion
and then-
thing where
yeah,
it's going.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the drum fill that kind of goes on for a while, and it goes into the chorus again, but without vocals.
Yeah.
That's just an amazing ending to the album.
It is.
One of my favorite album endings.
Yeah.
Actually, of any band.
So, what do you think the tier is? Oh yeah, so we're introducing tiers. So tier 1 is the best. It's legendary and our favorite album. Why don't you tell them what tier 2 is?
Well, yeah, this is just like our general ranking system. Instead of doing like a number out of 10, we're gonna go with like a tier 1 to 5 kind of system.
Oh my gosh.
Tier 1 will be our favorite albums, like the legendary ones. Tier 2 will be like the very good albums, maybe not fitting into the tier 1, but like very very good. Tier 3 is like the the good albums, but those just like not our favorites, just
Yeah.
albums that we enjoy. And then 4 will kind of be like ones that are more on the kind of meh side, but have some redeeming qualities.
What are some examples of this?
I'll go into examples of all 5. And then tier 5 would be kind of just bad albums with really not many redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
So I think most of the albums we'll review will be in tier 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Just because what I have on vinyl or whatever is, albums that I enjoy. That's why I get them.
Yeah.
But, as we go away from that into just reviewing any album, we might encounter some of the lower tiers. But, yeah, basically probably tier 1 to 3 will be the most common for our reviews. So tier 1, an example would probably, for me it would be like Kid A. For you, it would probably be like Moonshaped Pool, if we're going to talk about Radiohead.
Yeah.
In general, probably like
I Get to Spirit.
Got to Spirit and Sigur Rós would probably mutually be one of our tier 1s. For me, also Slint Spiderland, which is an album we'll review later on. Yeah, it's a legendary album for me. And then Really Amazing, Great Listen. What would be an example of that for you?
Probably Talk.
Sigur Rós Talk.
Yeah. And also With a Buzz in Our Ears by Sigur Rós.
For me, it'd probably be like Animal Collective's Mirror the Post Pavilion. It's a tier 2 for me.
Oh, and Aphex Twins. Wait.
Most
Aphex
of Aphex
Twins
Twin stuff for me is tier 2.
But Aphex Twins, I Care Because You Do. That's definitely one.
Like I think probably like some of Aphex Twin stuff, like Drux for me, would be in tier 2. Maybe Saw 2.
Yeah.
Saw 1 would probably be a tier 1. But yeah, those are just some general things that we've already kind of reviewed in this channel that would kind of fit into those tiers. Tier 3, probably like a good album, but not the best.
Yeah.
What would that kind of be for you?
Probably. What's that album? The Radiohead one. Hail to the Thief.
Hail to the Thief. Yeah. Yeah, I could agree with that. For me, it'd probably be more tier 2 for me, but yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Maybe like King of Limbs.
I'd say that's a tier 2.
Tier 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Atoms for Peace and Amok would probably be a tier 3 for me.
Yeah.
Which we'll review pretty soon on this channel.
I'd say Go would be a tier 3 by Yonzi.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of a so they're really good albums, but like they're not like the best, and they're definitely not like our all-time favorites. Just really good albums. Tier 4, I definitely put a lot of like the later Muse material. Like it's stuff that I do like, but it's like there are a lot of things I also really don't like about it. So they're kind of like a meh album.
Yeah. I'd say lots of Coldplay.
Yeah, lots of Coldplay too.
And also Pablo Honey.
Recent. Yeah, Radiohead's Pablo Honey. Yeah, it's probably around there too. Maybe even a light tier 3, close to it, but tier 4, yeah, it's probably a good idea for it. So yeah, like tier 4 is like they're all right. Yeah. And then tier 5 would be kind of just the bad. And I actually don't think I've ever listened to anything that would go there yet. So, but maybe like Nickelback.
Yeah.
Yeah, like stuff that has like maybe 1 or 2 things that are redeeming about it, and then mostly not something I don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
Probably tier 5. So, where do you think, now that we've established that for future videos, where do you think that this album would go in the tiers?
I'd say a tier 2.
Yeah? I would actually think a tier 1 for me. It's I actually made a list a little while ago of my top 10, and this was on it. So
yeah.
I think it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, we'll upload that video soon.
Oh yeah, we already did record that one. So yeah, tier 1 for me, tier 2 for you.
Yeah,
gives it an average of tier 1.5. So yeah, there we go. There's our review of In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. So stay tuned for more reviews.
Yeah.